Alright, so here's my video, and I chose The Great Gatsby and The Crucible by Arthur Miller. And I'm going to start off with The Great Gatsby, and one of the quotes I saw was, whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember the advantage that you've had. In consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments. This is by Nick Carraway, who utters his first ironic statement. Pretty much the entire book is about Nick's judgments. And another quote was, "Who was content to be alone, he stretched out his arms toward the dark water in a curious way, and as far as I was from him, I could have sworn he was trembling. Involuntarily I glanced steward and distinguished nothing except a single green light." Pretty much said Gatsby, he stares at the green light in the distance, and the green light he sees shine on the dock of Daisy Buchanan, who Gatsby loves, even though they haven't seen each other for 5 years. So we call this stalking today, but the green light in the broader sense symbolizes the American dream and the pursuit of wealth and happiness. Despite his immense richness, Gatsby never achieves this. So the green light just shows hope. Another quote is, "Making a short deaf moment, Tom Buchanan broke her nose with his open hand." And Tom, he's the type of guy you pretend to because he's got everything pretty much. He's athletic, rich and powerful, and we see Tom's moral descent as he breaks the girl's nose for suggesting a divorce because he didn't want it, making him a woman abuser and a bad person. Even though Tom cheats on his wife, he has no intention of leaving her, and that just doesn't make sense, I guess. Another quote is, "I read a chapter of Simon called Peter. Either it was terrible stuff, or the whiskey distorted things, because it didn't make any sense to me." Now that's said by Nick, and this is one of the characteristics of modernism in literature. I feel it's a sense of traditional religious institutions that had failed. The fact that Nick can make no sense of a book chapter sharing its name with the first leader of the Christian church, after Jesus's death, is a social commentary of the confusing nature of religion in the 1920s. So the reference, however, is kind of ambiguous because Nick is not sure whether the writing is confusing or he's just too drunk to understand anything. Likewise, Nick suggests that either Christianity is too confusing or the people receiving the message are just too confused. So probably the global issue ties to beliefs and values, because some characters, they think they're higher status than the rest of the people around them, and that's true, and choose to act differently, and thinking they can act a certain way based on their nature, or being brought to a certain status. And also kind of ties to creativity and even art, because the art of these rich people was inspiring because the way they act. And some people's creativity of trying to look like a rich person and act like a higher class is just amusing because you're not like them. So why are you trying to be like them? Because you'll never be like them until you actually are them. So yeah, and then next one. So my next one is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. And the overall reason why Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible was to protect his career, because it was during the blacklisting by the House of Representatives Committee on American Activities. And pretty much by speaking out against McCarthyism, Miller was able to make a general statement about the so-called witch hunt trials that pervaded the government in Hollywood. This book kind of goes as a to remind people of the past and relate to the present. And probably the main global issue is the issues of power, and that Arthur Miller's Crucible, it portrays like who has power and the shifts of power that take place, and even how power can consume people and try to abuse it for vengeance, jealousy, even material gain. And obviously authority and power is dominated in two main areas, which would be the church and almost every male character kind of. This is the society of Salem is a very particular society where the men have power over the women. Husbands, they control their wives, children, and since they do the work and earn the money because they're in charge of the household, it kind of puts them in charge. And even the males, they're in control of the high court, and because of the patriarchy, they also run the church, so they're pretty much always in charge. So that's just more another source of power. And the quote, because it's my name, because I cannot have another in my life, because I lie and sign myself to lies, because I am not worth the dust on my feet of them that hang, how may I live without my name? I have given you my soul, leave me alone. He's pretty much powerless in this situation, and Proctor utters these lines at the end of the play in Act 4, when he is wrestling with his conscience, over to confess to witchcraft and save himself from death. And the judges, which hold the power and have almost convinced him to do so, but the last thing is his signature on the confession, which he cannot bring himself to do, I guess. The unwillingness reflects his desire to dishonor his fellow prisoners. He would not be able to live without himself, pretty much, and not knowing that the innocent died while he quaked at death's door and fled. More important, it illustrates his obsession with his good name. Reputation is a tremendous and important thing in Salem, because the better you are, the more tremendous important you are, the more power that you hold. And yeah, Proctor's desire to preserve his good keeps his name from testifying against Abigail. Now, however, he has come to a true understanding of what a good reputation means and what course of action it necessitates, pretty much. Namely that he should tell the truth and not lie to save himself. So yeah. Alright, so the other quote is let you not mistake your duty as I mistook my own. I came into this village like a bridegroom to his beloved, bearing gifts of high religion. The very crowns of holy law I brought, and what I had touched with my bright confidence it died, and where I turned the eye of my great faith, blood flowed up. And this is also in Act 4, and it's said by Reverend Hal. And Reverend Hal, who he enters Salem kind of naive, and everyone thinks he's so great, and his greatness of discerning spirits, I guess, realizes that he has caused irreparable damage, pretty much, in order to right many of his wrongs. He wishes for Elizabeth Proctor to convince John Proctor to sign a false confession in order to save his life. And that just goes back to power, because he uses his power that he had before even like entering Salem, and he uses it, and he used it the wrong way, and which brought like pretty much death to like some people. So that's what power can do if you don't use it correctly. So yeah, that pretty much sums up this.